Hey peeps, welcome back to another episode of 3-4 Thursday, where I share 3 things about something on Thursday. I'm your host, Gladys from Heart Take the Wheel, your brand and business photographer. Now, this episode we're talking about letterboards. We're talking about letterboards because there are a couple tips I have that will help you with your letterboards, especially if you're using them to, as a prop in a photo, because that means you're working with them a lot and they have some annoying qualities, especially the felt ones. So we're gonna dive into a couple tips that I think save you a lot of time and frustration down the road. So let's just dive in, as we always do. Number 1 is to use a little paint scrape tool thing. And use this to remove the letters. So I know it's really easy and sometimes fun to pick up the letters and stuff with your nails, obviously. If you're only using a letterboard and small phrases and stuff, I'm sure that that's just your go-to thing. But if you're using a letterboard a lot and it's a lot of a lot of words, and you had a lot on it before, using one of these is going to save you time and also save your nails, because I've done it in the past where I kind of just pick at them, and a lot of them over and over again, and it hurts my nails, and then they're sore, the nail beds are sore for a few days. So this is going to save you some pain, and it's also going to save you time, because you can scrape a handful of letters off at a time and just sort of pop them right off. So this is just one of those little, paint scrape tools. This is just a really cheap plastic one. I feel like a metal one actually might be better, especially if it's a little thinner. But I just got this with a bunch of, paint brushes and stuff in a little kit or something a long time ago. And I thought, maybe I'll try this. And it's been my go-to thing. I keep it with my letters now. It stays in here. So seriously. Also, this is really helpful for moving a set of letters, when you're starting to place the letters and get them in alignment. This is going to help you if you decide that you actually want to move a whole bunch over or down or whatever. Instead of moving every single one of them, you could just sort of scrape a handful of letters and move them all at once. So that is another time saver. Number 2 is to use a lint roller. If you're using a felt board like this one, you definitely want one of these. So before you get started, lint off all of everything, because these things are notorious for attracting all of the lint, all of the little paper bits, and just anything, hair, all kinds of little itty bitty bits. And so save yourself a ton of headache and time later on by rolling it now and getting rid of all of that crap now. And then you don't have to edit nearly as much later. Of course, it's easy. You might think, well, it's easy just to click and, in J in Photoshop, or, in Lightroom, you have the tool to remove little dots. It's really not that big of a deal. However, it is if there's hundreds of them. And if you don't pay attention to your eyes, you're kind of seeing, because our eyes like to see through imperfections. And I've noticed that, because we're like, oh, beautiful flowers, and we photograph them, and then you look at them closely in a macro lens or something, and then you see oh, there was hair and bugs and all kinds of things, and you never even saw it before. So our cameras will pick up all that detail, especially in good lighting, which is what we aim to do. And so we're oh, there's just a few, and you pick at them, and you're oh, looks great, you take your photo, and then you look later, especially under certain editing circumstances, it will accentuate them. Then you're gonna have a big problem. So save yourself a ton of time. It's way easy and quick to just roll it all out, and then you're gonna be so much happier. Bonus, you might want to look and see if you need to roll it again after you've laid out all of your letters, because sometimes in the process of setting it all up, stuff falls from our clothing and our hair and nearby, and we get a little bit more lint. And so just a little once over before you take photos would be a good idea as well. Number 3, you'll want to, when placing your letters, you'll want to lightly just lay them on top of the board. Don't just put them in where you think they're going, even if you feel super confident about it. There's a very good chance, I swear every single time I lay out letters, I change my mind in where they're located. Spacing is wrong, or where the height is wrong, or the separation, it's just it's wrong, and I end up having to make at least one kind of an adjustment. So I say this saves you a lot of time and headache, is just sort of lay them out, but don't push them in. And then if it doesn't look right, you have your little scraper tool, you can adjust and sort of measure out where things go. And then when it looks good, start placing them. And a little bonus on this, place the outer edges first. So place, like in our word here with the residence, put the R and the E in first where you know that they're going to be. It'll help you space out the letters in between to where they look pretty even. And so like the A and the I, in for in. So like the outer edges first, and it's going to help you just make sure you're spacing in between, you know, the ends of the word, I guess. It's all right. It'll just help you with spacing. It makes it just a little bit easier. Now this is a super bonus tip. I've been getting bonuses. This is a little more than 3 for Thursday, but it's like a 3-ish for Thursday. So super bonus. There is a fun virtual letter board out there from Letterfolk. They're a big brand that makes these boards. And so you can use that in one of 2 ways. I like to use it just to give me a rough idea of like if I want it like left aligned or centered, like how it's going to kind of look. And then it just gives me a rough idea of how I want to place my letters. And it gave me, for example, with this particular thing, I lined it all up on their site and I saw like, okay, I'm going to want roughly the A kind of like inset from the R and the N inset from the E and the C and E, like kind of placement. Just gives me a rough idea on placement, basically. And so it's like a rough draft. However, it's also a fantastic virtual board that you can create and download and then overlay and play around in Photoshop and just like make your own images from that. And you don't even need a board, or if you kind of just want to skip the whole board thing. So play around with that website if you would prefer to do a virtual letterboard, or would you like to, or would like to lay them out like a rough draft like I did. So those are my tips for messing around with letterboards. I use a letterboard as a prop a lot in photos. A lot of my clients ask for it specifically. They even tell me, they're like, put this on a letterboard, we need that. And I'm like, okay. So I work with that and I figure it all out. And since I work with these a lot, I've come to find that these tips save me so much time now in the present while creating it and later while editing it. So I am just passing that on to you guys, and you guys can have fun creating whatever it is you're creating. And with this, this particular phrase has everything to do with what's going on right now. So I made a post about that on my Instagram, and you can check that out, and I will see you over there. If you pop over there from here, definitely let me know, because I would love to just know. It would be really cool to see where you guys are coming from over there. So I will see you guys in the next video.